to PB 2017-00010, Kelly Carr LLC, 425 Washington Street, Claremont, application for site plan approval for construction of a Ford dealership on Charlestown Road, tax map 165, lot 13, zone district B2.
Okay. So I think you all have the application materials plus a number of plans for the site plan itself. This is a new construction dealership. There's going to be approximately 18,800 square foot dealership building, and then a secondary building that's going to be approximately 5,500 square feet. That will be a ancillary service building for drive-up service generally. I'll let the applicant talk to the specifics of the uses of each one, but they're both auto-oriented. This dealership is in the B2 zoning district, and it will have direct access to Charlestown Road. We took a look through this application. We've also gone through staff review with the department heads, and so based on the application material we have here, I would recommend that the application is accepted as complete.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor, any discussion at all? No? All those in favor of accepting this application as being complete, say aye. Aye. All right, and accept the application as being complete.
Okay. So, as we have in the staff memo, there's an overview of the site plan, the design, the layout. It does incorporate staff comments from staff review. The site layout itself has no real technical issues in my opinion. It's a standard site layout for a dealership as I've seen it. I think there are certain features and aspects to it that are specifically designed into this site, but I'll let the applicant and his site designer talk about those features. But we do know that this application did come to the Conservation Commission for review under the DES wetlands and then site-specific application review process. Specifically to the wetlands permit application, I'd like to read to you a letter from the Conservation Commission. This is written to, actually it's for the Wetlands Bureau and the Alteration of Terrain Bureau, so DES representatives for both the wetlands and the AOT permits. The Claremont Conservation Commission has viewed the proposed project site and reviewed the project plans with the applicant, Chris Gomes, and engineer Randy Rhodes, and is satisfied that the project as designed will have minimal impact to the wetland, both in its driveway crossing of the wetland and in its systems to protect the wetland from stormwater runoff from both the impervious surfaces and the grasslands to the rear. The Commission is grateful to the applicant for his thorough attention to the Commission's concerns and appreciates the opportunity to review and comment on the project. Just so you know where the Conservation Commission sits with the environmental side of this project. You also have a letter from Mr. Gomes, and I'm going to grab one here. I'd like to read this into the record as well.
Please do.
This is addressed to the planning department. Below I have enclosed what are expected to be the hours of operation and the expected number of cars coming and going in any given day. Also, I hope to employ no less than 30 people full-time with a maximum of 35. I also anticipate that I'll employ approximately 5 part-time employees. Hours of operation, Monday to Thursday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., which may be subject to change. With regards to the hours, the service department will be opening at 7 a.m. with approximately 10 employees arriving at that time. The rest of the service and parts employees, 5 to 7 of them, will arrive to work at 8 a.m. The remaining employees will arrive at 9 a.m. The service and parts employees will leave work at various times between 3 to 4 p.m. The office staff will leave at 5 p.m., with the remaining sales staff leaving at close of dealership. As you can see, employees will arrive and depart at various times during the morning and evening hours, thus easing traffic flow into and out of the dealership. When it comes to customers, I anticipate approximately 30 to 40 vehicles in and out at various times throughout the 12-hour day during operating hours. Parts and new car truck delivery tend to happen late at night in the overnight hours. Parts deliveries will occur every other day. New car and truck deliveries will occur 1 or maybe 2 times a week. I hope this information is helpful in determining the outcome of my application in front of the planning board. And you each have a copy of this letter in front of you.
Yep.
Could review any particular details if you have questions. I would probably prefer to step aside for the applicant to present and discuss information, answer questions as you may have. It's as you like.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I will have 2 for the owners, for the representative.
All right, well, let's hear from the applicant.
Randy Rhodes, M&W Soils Engineering, down in Charlestown. Thank you. I'm going to let the owner, Mr. Christian Gomes, address you first. He can give you a little bit of an overview about the 2 buildings that are going to be there, their relative sizes, and most of what else he would have said, I think, was in that letter that was just read into record as far as his hours of operation, number of employees, and things like that. So I'll just let him give a brief overview, and then I can answer any questions on the technical side.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Christian Gomes, how are you? Good to see you all again. So
My question, if you want me to go first?
sure.
Okay. The wetlands question has been answered. I've had some citizens ask me concerning the wetlands, are they going to follow the regulations? And I said, of course they are, but we needed to hear that officially and in public. And thanks, Mike, for that. The other question that I've been asked is about noise, because it is in partial commercial, partial residential area. There has been concern about noise that would come from the garages with the air guns and other equipment that you use in working on automobiles.
I would assume it would be minimal because the shop is going to be air conditioned, so the doors will be closed. So I don't think that, I mean, it's not going to
So
emanate
it's going to
from the
be
building.
contained internally in the buildings.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
good.
think there'll be no work done performed outside.
Okay. So in the off-season, when the air conditioning isn't used and the doors are open,
I think at that point the heat would be on maybe.
okay?
I'm not, you know, there might be a couple weeks where it's nice weather and,
Yep.
you know, the shop, the big building, the shop only has one door coming in from the rear. The little building, the Quick Lanes building has 6 bays. I don't, particularly think that they'll be all opened at once.
Are those work bays facing the other building?
It's facing the other building, yeah.
Great, great, thank
So
you.
none of the sound's gonna emanate out of the building.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions?
If I could follow up on the sound one quickly. We had a question earlier from the abutters about an outside PA system.
There will be none.
Just want that for record.
There was,
So I have several questions, but the maps that we've been given, they're very small. And so sometimes I can't always read the information that's on there. But I know noise would be a consideration because you do have residential property owners behind the parcel that you're purchasing, correct?
Correct.
So,
But there's 10 acres of land, I think, to the behind of the buildings.
right, so if you could kind of walk me through how, I'm certain the distance is substantial, and is there a tree line dividing that?
There is,
Right, as you said, there's several hundred feet,
Right.
400 or 500 feet to the nearest houses. There's also almost a 30-foot elevation increase from the building. And there's also a berm behind this project so that we can have a ditch on the uphill side.
Okay.
And there is a tree line along the upper edge that looks fairly substantial when you're standing down here in the field. I know you can see through to where the houses are there, but there is a kind of an overgrown strip that's all the way through there.
Okay. And then, then my other questions pertain to stormwater, wastewater, all of that. And I know when you were here last time for the conceptual part, you had said that you would be hooking up to water, but not to sewer.
Correct.
Because it's 900 feet.
It is
somewhere
900
else.
feet,
Yeah.
yes.
So that would be cost prohibitive, I imagine.
It would, and we've also heard from the local contractors that that end of the sewer line was kind of overtaxed when, you know, all the businesses up our way all tie into one manhole down in front of the VFW. And I mean, people we've talked to would ask why the city would want more flow into that particular area there. But the big thing is cost. We have 900 feet along the road frontage that would have to be dug up. We know there's ledge along some of that. And then you have the 400 feet or so that you'd have to
Going
come
into
onto
the-
the site.
yeah.
You know, I talked to some contractors about the per unit foot for doing that work, and they said use somewhere between $60 and $80 a foot. So we're looking at least $100,000. I mean, I would guess with construction costs, it'd be a little higher than that, and we could probably do an on-site septic system for $25,000. That's my estimate. It's not a big water flow use there. It's going to be based on the number of employees for the business and, you know, something for the transient customers during the day.
Right.
So I'm looking at, you know, maybe 1,000 gallons a day of usage there, which isn't a real big septic system by modern standards.
So just walk me through how you protect, when you I'm assuming you're going to be washing cars and there'll be a little bit of oil, gas perhaps. So how are you protecting that runoff from going into?
That will be interior uses. And the latest discussions with the DES on that is that a holding tank would be the best option.
Okay.
But we were hoping to discharge it to the surface waters, but we haven't found a way to do that yet. So far a holding tank is going to be the way to go. But that will go kind of concurrent with the septic system. It's not going to the septic system, that we know. It can't go to the surface waters. That would be an EPA permit
Right.
versus a local permit. You know, the state does allow for discharges into the groundwater through a fairly simple state permit, but you'd have to go through a series of oil water separators and stuff
Right.
like that, and then prove the water coming out the other end was clean before it could be discharged to the groundwater. So the answer is it'll either be a holding tank or it'll be a regulated discharge to the groundwater that'll go through a state permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Might be a question to Mike. So hearing you comment about the difference between the options you have for handling the water that's non-sewer related, and we don't know what they are yet, I'm thinking that's something we need to note in our conditions of approval.
I think that's, that would fall under the state permitting and stuff, correct?
Yes, it would.
So,
But
and
we
we
don't-
already
we don't
state
know-
that within our, when we accept in our conditions of approval.
yes, that's right.
So we're doing that.
Because we don't know which way they're going to go yet.
Right,
Yep.
right.
My experience in dealing with your building department is they'll be all over that when construction's going on as well. I mean, as an additional safeguard. There won't be floor drains going in that don't have a dedicated spot to go to. And with to go along with it, you want me to answer the question about the water service before that came up? Well, what we decided in dealing with the DPW and the city water department is that we're going to come in off Lane Ridge Road rather than along Charlestown Road so that we don't risk an interruption in flow on that major artery there. It's a 6-inch line that runs up Lane Ridge Road, so we can tie a 6-inch line into it going onto our site. We'll live tap it, so there shouldn't be a shut off to the, to the other users on that date. But it's going to simplify everything. We don't have to cut through the wetland with that pipe. So we've run that by the city and seem to be in agreement with that.
Excellent.
So I read a couple of things in the letter that we got from the city planner with regard to landscaping. I think in one section it said landscaping is going to be minimal, maybe there might be some shade trees. And then there's another section that says landscaping shall be provided which is in keeping with the character of the area where the site is located, the purpose of the development, the location, buildings, improvements. So can you kind of walk me through what that means?
The areas around where the retention ponds are going to be, which is both front corners of the property, those plantings are highly detailed on the sheets we gave you. That's part of the SVE alteration of terrain permit and the wetlands permit.
Yep.
There's a whole page in there that just details where every shrub is going in here and what they are. And that's going to be the. I'm going to show you that on the.
Are you talking about this one?
Yes, yes, he is.
What we don't want at a dealership is a bunch of tall trees in between.
Right, you want to have
cars and
people,
the road.
yeah.
There's areas within the interior where we have breaks in the pavement, where there'll be landscaping, low bushes, wherever we can on the interior, and same in any of the inlets in the back that cut into the parking lots. Those will have shrubs on them. Anything behind the building won't really be seen by anybody.
Right.
I mean, even the neighbors, by the time we're 20 feet lower than them, there's other trees in a row, whatever we plant behind the building is really just going to be seen by the people that are coming in through the parking lots. Again, the highly detailed landscaping plans that go along with those detention basins are a lot more than we would have proposed. It's what the environmental engineers have detailed there, so it's not hard to do.
So when we get to the conditions of approval, as long as we put in that, that they'll be properly maintained once landscaping is installed.
Well, I think that, I think it's assumed that they're going to be properly maintained,
Well-
especially being a dealership like that.
But I think it doesn't hurt to put the language in, that it will be maintained, because we have incidences around the town where it's not being maintained.
Okay.
So as, I think it's important to communicate our expectations, and I'm sure, in this case, dealerships are very picky with how they want to be seen by the public to invite people in, that wouldn't be a problem, but I'd rather just have it clearly stated.
Okay.
It's fine. From our position, the plantings in the wetland area or in the stormwater detention areas are actually integral to the functioning of those areas, so it's in everybody's best interest to maintain those.
Right. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Is there any sense that you'd like a short presentation from the owner about what his intention is here before we
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
we kind of cut him off, so.
Yeah, no, that would
It might
be
it
perfect.
might stop a few more questions that come up during the public hearing, so. Again, just briefly,
Sure.
what you building?
We have two buildings. One is going to be the 18,000 square foot building, which is going to be a showroom, customer area, service area for new cars. There'll be 7 service bays within that building. There'll be a parts department within that building. And that's where all the new car service will be done. The Quick Lanes building, the little building, is going to be for used cars, off-brand, other than Ford, tire, brakes, lube. And that'll be quick, quick service. Anything that's under a half hour to an hour, get the customer in and out. There'll be a waiting room in that building, a write-up area, and it's going to be really nice.
Excellent.
So, Any other
from the
questions?
board on- Okay,
okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much. All right, bring it back to the board. Is there any discussion?
I do have one question. I'm sorry. With regard to lighting, How is that going to be done so it doesn't interfere with any neighboring residential units?
It's all down lighting.
It's all downcast.
But I would like, for the purpose of the public, to hear it.
Yeah, there's a separate plan in there that shows all the lighting details. There's a lighting engineer that was attached to the project. He was given the heights of the building and the site plan. And the instructions he was given was, find a way to light the front of the building, find a way to safely get employees to the side parking lot at night when it's dark, and leave the rear dark of these
Okay.
side parking lots, all the sort of overflow or storage areas around the side. If you look at the lighting plan, those all show zero light around those. So what we've done is concentrated on lighting the buildings themselves, and there's a couple segregated light posts around the front, and they're all down lighting. Graphs are included in your packets as to how far out those lights will spread, and they have a fairly small footprint.
Fantastic.
Do they meet the standards for the dark sky initiative?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they design anything now that doesn't. Yeah, we thought the lighting engineer was very thorough with the attention he gave us on this. So, and listening to, Chris has said since the beginning he didn't want an overabundance of lights there. And, that's what we've come up with.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of at this point in time.
Okay. All right. With that, can I have a reading of the butters list?
Francis H. Lane Revocable Trust, Carol Gator, trustee of the Carol Gator Revocable Trust of 1997, Todd and Carla Davis, Lucas and Tanya Hinckley, Bradley Lane, Scott and Lissa Hinckley, Stanley and Kathleen Gray, Cheshire Oil Company, Mann's Family Realty LLC, John and Beth Haynes, Kenneth and Olga Grunbaum, Dale Hodgson and Wendy Thomas, Jeffrey and Tracy Ruggles, REDE LLC, Stephen Cornell, Deborah Smith, Thermocut Incorporated, and then the staff M&W Soils Engineering, SVE Associates, Frank Anzalone Associates, Green Top Land Surveying, Beaver Tracks LLC, and Upper Valley Land Trust.
Okay, with that, I'll open it up to the public forum. If anybody'd like to speak to this, please come on up and speak to the microphone. Yes? Please introduce yourself and when you get up there.
Hi, my name's Stephen Cornell, one of the abutters. I'm actually surprised there are so many. But I was talking to the architect, and Deborah and I own houses on the north side, and we already have light pollution from T-Bird and from the Subaru dealership. So our concerns obviously are to keep it down to an absolute minimum so it doesn't light up our backyard at night. Our property line is actually, I believe it's this property right here. Right?
Yes.
And so we can already see the Subaru dealership right through here. This is wooded. Well, excuse me, this is wooded over here, but you can see the Subaru dealership, so obviously we have concerns with that. We did have concerns with noise pollution because we can hear Subaru's PA system all day long. And so, we have concerns about that. And another concern we would have is if they're going to run a shop on Sunday.
No service on Sunday.
Just sales?
Just sales.
That's,
And that might not
that's-
even happen.
like, you got to run a business. I understand that. We don't have any delusions of stopping this project, but being able to live with it.
I understand.
And being that I've been an electrician for 35 years, then I understand, about light pollution, and I don't think any of my concerns would hold up the project.
So have you seen the plans?
I have, and I would like to revisit those like mounting heights on the fixtures on the north side of the building, and maybe even put reflectors on them so you can't see them. Even though they're cut-off fixtures, when they're 18, 20 feet high, looking over and up, you're gonna see it's like this fixture, you know, it's pointing down, but when you're on an angle, you can still see it. So, you know, those are our concerns.
Can I have a question to them?
Yeah.
So as an electrician, you're informing us that there are a reflector that could be added to the lights to direct the light more to the property?
Well, the light, I do understand, it needs to point out to a certain degree, and that, you know, is taken care of with the cutoff, but you can still see up into it. So a lot of times you could build something, if you can't buy a reflector, that will hamper the view of the fixture itself. So all you're seeing is the light, but not the source of the light.
Any other questions? Okay,
I'm good, thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
So how do we find out about if anything's gonna happen about that?
Well, we're going to talk about it. So we'll address that after the public forum.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Yep, come on up.
Jeff Ruggles. I live on 38 Lane Ridge, which is on the upper left corner. My driveway is right here,
Okay.
and I look straight down through right to the Subaru garage. My concerns were obviously lighting. We can see everything from T-Bird all the way over. And I was also wondering if there was going to be any kind of hedgerow type deal here so that it kind of blocks some of that view down through. Right now, the Davises live here, and they can probably see as much as we can. But we're pretty high up as well, probably higher than a lot of the people down below us. So that was my big concern. And obviously, he's already dealt with the Sunday thing. That was new, but thank you.
Okay. Yep. Any questions? No, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with no one else raising their hand, I'll close the public forum and bring it back to the board. And any thoughts from the board?
Well, given some of the current concerns we had questions of, and then hearing from the public, does the board think it would be beneficial to do a site visit so that we can see three-dimensionally what people have concerns about?
Boy, I don't know what the board thinks.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not for this site.
I don't think so.
I mean, we're looking at, I apologize, but we're looking at 10 acres behind the building. Is that what you were,
Roughly 10 acres.
a field behind it? I understand what they're saying about the lighting, and we'll get an answer on the height of the lighting. Other than that, the noise has been taken care of, or they've spoke on it. The hours have been spoken about. It sounds to me in a way that a lot of their concerns have to do with properties on the other side of the road. And nothing we can do about that side, but it sounds like here that they've already got it pretty much narrowed down. I don't think a site visit would help.
I don't either.
I don't feel it
We're
would.
not gonna be able to tell anything because there's nothing there to look
Correct,
at.
right, correct. The only thing I would like to know is the height, mounting height of those lights on the building.
18 to 20 feet.
Yep.
18 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
18 to
So
20
the
feet.
freestanding lights will be about 20 feet tall, and the wall-mounted lights will be about 20 feet up on the wall.
Which that's a pretty common height in any type of, this type of construction.
So in your engineering of designing the lights for this site, how do you feel the luminosity and brightness compares to the neighbors across the street, meaning T-Bird and Subaru's garage?
The architect, Frank Anzalone, can come up and address some more of these issues about lighting.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. You can just come up and introduce
What I'm
yourself.
trying to do is establish, in some way, a comparison between the new build's lighting, brightness, and the impact it's going to have on the neighborhood compared to the impact that the Subaru garage and T-Bird now has.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Anzalone. I'm the architect for the project. Unfortunately, my electrical engineer is in Ireland, so I can't be here tonight. But as far as comparing it to the other sites, when you look at this, these numbers are actually very low. We're talking lumens in the highest I've seen is
It's hard to read.
2.9. They're all very low. They're all under 1. So if you're trying to compare it to across the street, this is much lower. The light fixtures are full cutoff, but I do understand the concern. Unfortunately, what I can't answer right now is are shields easily available for these fixtures? If they're not, I can ask the electrical engineer to look at different manufacturers. They're LEDs. The good thing with LEDs is you can control how much and where you want that light cast. So we were able to keep the lighting on site, and actually not just on site, we were able to keep the lighting on the paved portions rather than even off onto the grass.
So you're saying that you would, if you were comparing it with the lighting across the road, that it's much lower?
It's much lower. We're able to contain it again around the building and onto the paved areas, and only a portion of the paved areas. It's really the area around the buildings. The parking along the back, the storage, that's not even lit at all. So. No, this light is much more controlled. It's much more even. There's no bright spots like across the street, and that's part of the problem with across the street.
So because of, in your design, you're not lighting the property behind the building, which is where automobiles are going to be stored. Are you concerned about vandalism because there'll be no lighting there?
I'm going to let Chris answer that.
I will address that. When we met with the chief of police in the staff meeting, Mike, his biggest concern about vandalism was for us to put motion lighting on the back corners of the two buildings, so that at, say, 2 in the morning, if his officers see the light on, they know to go back there and check. There's a chance, and I haven't decided yet, that I might put a gate across the roadway for nighttime, so I don't have to be concerned with that. The driveway.
Yep.
So that is an option too. I've thought about that, but I haven't decided on that yet.
I know the Subaru garage does block one end of their driveway with vehicles every night, so that the entrance is the exit at that during the evening hours. And I noticed so that traffic can't go all the way through.
One thing I can say about the lighting is I had a long discussion with the lighting engineer. Me and him kind of butted heads on this because he wanted to put more lighting. I wanted less lighting. I did the minimal for safety for employees at night leaving the dealership. That's, he wanted lights up the side of the driveway. He wanted a lot more lighting, and me and him kind of didn't see eye to eye, but we came to a happy medium that, most of the lighting is all for safety for employees at the nighttime. And the lights aren't going to be on 24 hours either. I mean, they'll probably turn off if we leave at 7. They'll probably go off at 8:30. About an hour after everybody leaves, hour and a half maybe. And they'll just be the motions that'll be on around the side of the building.
And what kind of lights are the motion lights?
There'll be a downlight LED, and everything's going to be high tech.
Okay. So the motion lights also follow the dark sky initiative?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Just wanted
Yep, Mike?
Just for perspective, I've been sort of looking at whatever online information I can grab. This is a relatively recent streetscape photo that I'm looking at here. It does seem like the Subaru dealership was constructed in a different era of lighting.
Yes.
What I'm seeing, and I can't attest to whether or not it's been updated since this photo, but this photo is relatively recent, within the last couple of years. There are unshielded floodlights on that property. There are unshielded wall pack lights on that property. So I think from my professional perspective, the character of the lighting will be substantially different, what's proposed here, from if we take the Subaru dealership from the Subaru dealership. I know that a lot of, and I watch after this, this is kind of a thing that I track as in my travels. I notice a lot of gas stations are early adopters of LED lighting because of the cost savings, particularly under the canopies. They tend to overlight under the canopies, but that's a different thing. And I would say that the Coco, the
T-Bird view.
T-Bird, Champlain Oil is a holding company, sorry. They will probably also be substantially brighter than what's shown here. Just
I guess after what we've heard, my question would be, does this address the concerns that people in the public have brought?
In my opinion, yes. I think so. I don't know what the other board members think.
Would it be fair to ask, to go back and ask the people in the public if those answers are adequate for them?
Oh, we can.
one thing, I'll just add one thing that probably could not be answered until the site is constructed is whether or not any extra shielding on the lights will help. I understand what one abutter has brought to mention, and I've seen it when you're on a lower perspective looking up into any light fixture. You'll see that much more than what it's designed for in terms of controlling the light spill and light pollution.
So Mike, if we add that as a condition of approval for it to be reviewed, so it's in writing as we give approval to this?
That's up to the board if you want to add that as a condition. I don't know what the retrofits can be. I've seen retrofits where it's basically a piece of metal flashing attached to the fixture. Ugly as heck.
Right.
But I'll step aside if other.
Okay. All right, so I'll open up to public forum again. Would you like to come up and address that?
Yeah, just a couple things. Number one, this gentleman's, keeps mentioning the back of the building. That's the east. We're on the north, and there's no way our house is that far away. Number two, through talking with the owner and these guys, the architect, I do have faith that they will take our concerns and interest and help us solve that with the lighting, like what you said underneath. The metal flashings actually are made by the manufacturer of the lighting fixture, come painted the same color and designed to not look like crap. Well, you did, so you look like crap. But, so anyway, I just want to bring up those concerns and let you know that I do think the owner did a great job of minimalizing the lighting through my experience as an electrician. When LED first came out, the intent was really overkill on lumens on LED. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
Can I make another point about that too? Yep. So we have a frame of reference here. The abutters with their concerns here are around elevation 680. I would guess on probably both their first floors. Even 20 feet off the ground, we are at 674. So the top of these lights will be 6 feet below the floors of your house. So there's no concerns about looking up into a light. They're actually going to be lower than your house is. So, and especially by the time you get to upper floors, you might be 20 feet above where the lights are. So there's no case of looking up into a light.
And I don't see really the need for the cutoff or reflector, excuse me, not the cutoff, but the reflector.
If you can come up to the microphone,
I'm sorry.
please, if you want to.
I meant to say before that the reflectors to help with the cutoff, I was mainly talking about, where it would be a hindrance toward a residential neighbor and not specifically toward the street. T-Bird, we can, see their lights, but seeing the glow of a light isn't as bad as seeing the light itself, the lamp.
Yep.
And there are, lamps at T-Bird that we can see them.
Absolutely.
Because they're, T-Bird, especially the Subaru dealership, which was built at a different time when, LED was used differently.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I'll close, unless if there's anybody else who wants to speak in the public forum? No, then we're gonna close that. So I don't know, my feeling is that they've gone to quite an extent to keep the lighting down. I wouldn't want to put anything into the conditions that weren't factory to begin with, any type of, where they're expected to engineer their own type of reflector. I don't think that we should be doing that kind of thing. So
So I have, if we wish to consider adding anything to the conditions of approval, what I've drafted here is landscaping will be properly maintained.
okay.
Lighting will be reviewed to evaluate the need for shielding from the manufacturers of the lighting product.
So with that, so who's reviewing? That was my question.
That's a great question. It would be up to the city to do that with the owners acting on behalf of any resident who would be coming to the city complaining about it.
Yeah, I think the most functional way to deal with that is based on complaints.
Yep.
I would probably modify the wording a little bit to add shielding as necessary.
Okay.
But you never know when a manufacturer is going to go bunk, and then we're going to go on to eBay trying to find that specific piece. So I would just say, shielding as necessary.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on the board?
The only other question I had pertained to the comments made by staff in the general site discussion. And under number 6, adequacy of stormwater and sanitary waste disposal facilities, it states the existing stormwater facilities require maintenance, which should be considered for the site plan approval.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I must have printed out an old version because that's not, I thought I'd taken that out. So that's not relevant to this case. Adequacy of stormwater is intended that stormwater design depicted on site plan at least maintains stormwater runoff flows. It's a pre-construction condition. And that second sentence can be stricken. That was the intent. That was not intended to be there.
Okay, but then the following sentence is correct. Sanitary waste and process waste from vehicle service activities will be regulated by state agencies.
That was my understanding. I think that was corroborated by the applicant's design consultant.
And that's consistent with what we've heard tonight in testimonies.
That's right.
And the only other question I have with regard to the comments from the staff is there is no under number 1, adequacy, safety, and arrangement of vehicular traffic access and circulation, including intersections, road widths, channelization structures, and traffic controls. The final sentence under that is, there is no traffic safety or congestion analysis for this proposed development. And that was done, the reason for that was based on the limited amount of activity as described in Mr. Gomes' letter?
This was written before we received that letter. I would have addressed Mr. Gomes' letter if I had it at that time. But yeah, I guess that's up to the board whether there needs to be an analysis there. General understanding is that Charlestown Road is not, if we looked at Charlestown Road, it's not a congestion issue for a new intersection. And the road geometry for safety, there are specific analyses there, but I haven't seen any analysis for this site. It would be based on the trip generation characteristics. And I think Mr. Gomes' letter does speak to that, but anything in terms of whether the applicants thought about safe access to the site, whether there's concern about congestion at the access point, I'd have to defer to the applicant on that.
Because as the plans stand now, there's no traffic light that will be at that intersection where the...
Oh, no. There are certain analyses that look at traffic safety, and there are certain standards that need to be met. It's called a lane warrant analysis for turn lanes, right turn lane warrant analysis, left turn lane warrant analysis. There's a signal warrant analysis. And I think in the past few projects where we've had that kind of analysis done, even on Washington Street, there has been no turn lane or signal warrant granted. So, it doesn't get to that level of need. You might think about a project that did warrant a signal was Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, this is nothing of the scale or of a Home Depot. That said, I'm talking qualitatively right now.
Right.
And I can't speak to specifics on this site.
We're looking at about 4 or 5 cars an hour throughout the time that the operation's open.
If you average it out through the day, probably.
Yep. So I remember we had this discussion when we were reviewing the conceptual drawings, but the only concern I had then was where traffic would be coming from the south, and at certain times of the day, the inward bound traffic into Claremont is pretty heavy. So that's the only concern I have, is something to look at as time goes on.
In the earlier discussions, we were asked about a right turn lane, which,
I was gonna bring that up again tonight, just so you know.
but again, if you're...
Make you feel good.
I don't think the right turn lane is the one to worry about. I think
It's the left.
It's the left.
So I was gonna add that to it.
Yeah.
That was
I mean,
my thought.
Again, the
don't
daily,
have to now.
the traffic for this compared to any of those other businesses along Charlestown Road that don't have things like that is
Well,
minimal.
Dunkin' Donuts, try that one.
Again, there's no turn lanes at Dunkin' Donuts.
That's correct.
It's, dedicated in and dedicated out.
But if I remember correctly, we left it that we could go back and look at that one again.
Yes.
If it becomes a problem.
Yes.
And have that put in.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, even the one across the street at T-Bird, I mean, your daily trips in and out of T-Bird, I've got to guess, are 8-10 times what this is.
Yep.
And you're right, it's going to be that, that rare instance where somebody's coming from the south and they have to wait for somebody to pull in, or somebody has to wait. It's no
It's
different
like-
than any place else on that road. And
That's right.
again, I think the applicant's done a great job of staggering when the workers are going to come in. The customers are going to be coming in at off times compared to when the employees are coming in. And as far as backing up on the site, we have 300 feet of driveway, for people to wait to go out onto Charlestown Road. So we're not concerned about our customers and how long they have to wait to get onto the road. I think it's going to take. It's going to be longer for our customers to get out on Charlestown Road than it's going to take for somebody from Charlestown Road to get into the site. So as
I don't think
agree.
I don't think
and
that's a big
I
issue.
had an extensive discussion with I really was hoping Scott Sweet or somebody from the DPW would write us a letter saying, you know, no, you don't need them, but they, you know, they won't go that far, but they didn't seem to have any heart.
I'm not gonna bring it up again.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. With that being said, do I have a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion that we grant this recommendation approving yep. Approval for the application of a site plan review for a car dealership at the intersection of Charlestown Road and Lane Ridge Road, tax map 108, lot 71, zoning district B2.
All right. Do we want to read the,
Conditions of approval,
So
yes.
do we have a second first?
I'll second.
The conditions of approval. The proposed site plan shall be completed substantially in accordance with the information provided by the applicant in the site plan application PB, case number PB 2017-00010, in testimony during the public hearing for said case. The site shall be constructed and maintained in accordance with a plan titled Proposed Site Plan for KEL Car LLC, DBA Ford of Claremont, dated July 21st, 2017, and as amended pursuant to testimony for this case. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits as determined by the local, state, and federal governments. Prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the owner applicant shall notify the zoning administrator and building inspector that the project is ready for final inspection. Completion of the product shall be in substantial compliance with the plans submitted for review and all conditions of approval. If Planning and Development Department staff determine the changes are substantial and warrant Planning Board review, then the applicant shall submit for a site plan amendment. This site plan is valid for 2 years from the date of approval. If a certificate of occupancy has not been issued before the 2-year deadline, the site plan is no longer valid and must be recertified through the Planning Board. 2 copies of the final approved overall site plan, printed on Mylar and in a form suitable for recording at the Sullivan County Register of Deeds, shall be provided to the Claremont Planning and Development Department. Landscaping will be properly maintained, and screening on lighting as necessary.
okay, so not that we're not repeating ourselves on that.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got quite the little audience. Give everybody a second.